Did the Korean government make Hybe a conglomerate to keep watch of them after all the issues they have been having? Are BTS members really part owners of Hybe, or is this another army delusion? Is Min Hee Jin right in saying a multi label system does not work? And now that Hybe is a conglomerate, what influence do they have or do they hold over the entertainment industry? And is it true that Hybe is becoming a gaming company?
Hi, okay, so this is another request, a conglomerate, a multi-label system. What is it about? The setup, the disadvantages and advantages, and why would you even want to do something like this? And how is it different from labels like or management companies like SMJYP and YG? All right, this is us geeking out, and I always love it. If you end up liking this video, please give it a thumbs up. Of course, subscribe and hit that notification button and share the video if you can. And of course, follow me on Patreon, on X or Twitter, and on Instagram. Okay, onto the video.
First, let's try to understand what is a conglomerate. A conglomerate is a large company that owns many smaller companies in different industries. Imagine a big umbrella with various smaller umbrellas underneath. The big umbrella is the conglomerate, and the smaller umbrellas are different businesses it owns. Each smaller company operates independently but is part of the larger conglomerate. This allows the conglomerate to be involved in various types of businesses, reducing its risk by not depending on just one industry. If you are a label who only manages and produces music, if you get to a time when you aren't producing as many hits anymore, your company can tank, putting you and your employees in a difficult financial situation. But if you are a conglomerate, your risks are spread out. You have multiple sources of income, so if you're not doing so well in one source of income, then there are other aspects of the business that you can count on. Some of these companies under you can also do business with other companies, further generating more income for your company. For example, Hybe Media Studio produces different documentaries and other videos. Once they develop their expertise, they can actually approach different brands and different entertainment companies to offer their services. So then, what is a multi-label system? You can think of it the same way you would think of, for example, Unilever, one umbrella company and different brands under it. Although they are under one company, each brand is distinct and they operate independently. Magnum, for example, an ice cream brand, is very much different from Ben& and Jerry's. They are both owned by Unilever. Sunsilk is different from VO5, but they are also both owned by Unilever. That is the same setup in Hybe. Source Music, Pledis, Adore, Big Hit, and B-Lift are all producing the same quote-unquote product, but they have nothing to do with each other. Each label operates independently, and eventually the goal is for the connection to not even be made, the same way you don't make a connection between Breeze and Sun. Again, two different brands under the same umbrella company. Is this South Korea's way of keeping a closer watch of Hybe for all the controversies they have been going through? It is South Korea's way to make sure they nurture businesses to provide regulatory laws that would help grow companies so they can continue to provide employment and revenue to the country. While they also make sure that these businesses do not monopolize the market and fulfill their legal financial obligations to the country. Thus, there are certain regulations in place. For example, Financial Holding Company Act. This act ensures that Hybe has enough money to support their ventures and run the company. It also makes sure that owners of subsidiaries won't have too much ownership on other subsidiaries. For example, the owner of B-Lift can't just buy a large portion of Source Music or Big Hit for that matter. Another regulation is Monopoly Regulation and Fair Trade Act. This is known as the Chebol regulation. It restricts cross-shareholding and limits intra-group transactions to promote fair competition. In other words, Hybe can't own a stake in all entertainment companies. It can own a stake in some, but not in all. Also, any merger and acquisition of considerable size will now have to go through the court. For example, if Hybe buys some startup entertainment company, that shouldn't be a problem. But if Hybe buys, for example, JYP, that will most likely have to be approved by the court. South Korea promotes free market, not monopoly. But while they do have some regulations to restrict or control the way that they are acquiring businesses and running their businesses, there is also some government protection. For example, conglomerates may be rescued by the government if they ever go into bankruptcy or if they go through some kind of financial trouble. Why? Because conglomerates employ thousands of people. If they fold, that is thousands of people and their families that will lose their job. Unemployed people are not good for the country's economy. You don't want them to be the problem of the government. So the government tries its best to keep a big company alive. Remember that if a company has 1,000 employees, for example, those thousands of employees will have families that they support. They also may be consuming products or services of other businesses. If they lose their job, they're going to stop consuming those services and products, and those businesses will also lose a good source of income. So always remember that one employed person actually affects multiple people and multiple businesses. That being said, being rescued doesn't come free. When they are rescued, the conglomerate does have to pay it back, but the specifics and how the company has to pay back the assistance will really depend on the nature of the rescue package and the terms set by the government. In South Korea, for example, Hyundai Group went through a financial crisis during the Asian financial crisis. The government and the financial institutions provided financial support and facilitated debt restructuring. This intervention actually helped Hyundai stabilize and eventually allowed some of its subsidiaries like Hyundai Motor Company to emerge as stronger and more competitive. I'm sorry, somebody called me out for pronouncing Hyundai as Hyundai. I'm still getting used to the new pronunciation for me. Is Min Hee-jin right in saying the multi-label system doesn't work? 7 years, that's the number of years for a business to go through a full cycle. And usually in that 7 years, you're going to experience everything, the highs, the lows, the good, the horrible. But if a business survives it, they will most likely stabilize. Hybe hasn't even been around 5 years. This is just growing pains. Painful, but still a part of the process. No system is perfect. Every system has flaws, but saying it doesn't work is false given that we have seen this kind of model before. What she may mean is that it doesn't work for her. Min Hee-jin has been very clear that she wants absolute control over Adore. So much that she actually asked to be the sole signatory for New Jeans' contract. Having her own business might fit her better, which she knew and mentioned in her press conference. She just didn't want to take the financial risk, which could mean having her own entertainment company might not be the right kind of business for her after all. This is the reality of working for someone. At the end of the day, all major decisions will be made by the owners of the company. And at the end of the day, you still need to follow them. Are BTS members part owners of Hybe since they own shares, or is this just another army delusion? The company Hybe is divided into many small parts, and that is called shares. Each share or each stock you own represents one of these shares. So when you buy a stock, you are buying a small piece of the company, a very small piece. This makes you a shareholder. And yes, you do own a part of the company, a very small part, but still a part. Publicly traded companies have a lot of stocks out there. Owning one or even 1,000 or maybe even 10,000 won't really make you an influential figure in the company. That being said, BTS were given shares. Yes, they are part owners of the company. They also have voting rights, which means in major changes, they can actually affect the decision since they can exercise their voting rights. They own about 0.16 or 0.17% share. That doesn't sound like a lot, but remember that there are millions of shares out there. And if I'm not mistaken, there are about 41 million shares of Hybe out there. For them to earn 0.16% of that, that is considerable. If anything happens to Hybe, yeah, BTS loses money. However, stocks aren't cash. You do need to sell your stocks to turn it into cash. So as of now, BTS actually doesn't hold that cash. They can do a lot with it. They can actually borrow against it. And that is actually what a lot of multi-millionaires or billionaires do. They just borrow against their stocks or whatever assets that they have. And since that is tax-free, in effect, they're not paying taxes. But that's another story. But BTS didn't buy the initial shares that they have, it was given to them. The bigger damage at this point is on the fact that Hybe was actually made possible because of BTS. And to this day, in the military and all, they still contribute 50% to its cash flow. If it wasn't for BTS, there wouldn't be Hybe. BTS, Bang Shiyuk, and the staff that they've had from the beginning have more rights to Hybe than anybody will ever have. Bang Shiyuk said that they will shift to gaming. Are they abandoning music? There's a lot of money in gaming. Korea's gaming industry is actually twice as big as the Korean music industry as a whole, not just K-pop. There is a huge possibility that entertainment in general will fuse. Music will become more interactive, music consumption will become highly digital, metaverse will become the new social media, and gaming will become more adventure like. And all of these different components, movies, music, art, will all come together in this space. Bang Shiyuk is looking into the future and how Hybe can find its place in that vision to guarantee Hybe's growth and survival. Remember, thousands of people are employed by Hybe. Remember that great businesses are built for the future, not for the present. In the SOM and superstar BTS are all initial attempts on how they can use artist IP to get into gaming. Hybe is building their presence there. And eventually, when the metaverse expands, when NFTs become more commonly used in all of the different forms of art, Hybe will already be there. And that is exactly how a visionary thinks. They think of the future and they make sure that they get there even before everyone else starts making their first step. Can BTS eventually sit in the board of Hybe or be the CEO of one of the subsidiaries? Yeah, they can. But who do you think will fit being the CEO or the producer of a subsidiary more? Suga already said he doesn't want to produce a group and would rather take a degree in counseling. Do you think he would eventually head that department in Hybe? And of the 7 members, who do you think would prefer to be an artist and stay active for a longer period of time? Do you think someone will want to go to the US and be an active part of a label as a CEO, as a composer, or as a producer? Do you think one of the members will eventually concentrate in merchandising or take an active part maybe in developing the metaverse? Can you imagine the future of BTS 10 years from now?
Okay, this is speculative because I do not know Bang Shiyuk. I think his biggest challenge is how do you keep on changing hats from being a businessman to being a producer, so from corporate to creative. And I've said this before, being a businessman, running a business is not easy. There's a lot of unkind things that you need to do. There's a lot of savagery, a lot of viciousness that you need to do if you want to be able to grow your business. Because being a producer, you're just in charge of the group that you're producing for. You just want to make sure that their fans are happy enough for them to pay for whatever it is that you're selling. But if you're a chairman of a conglomerate, you're thinking of the 1,000 people that you've employed and all the families that rely on their paycheck. You have to think about regulations. You need to think about networks and relationships. You need to think about laws. You need to think about your country. You have to balance your relationship, international relationships. All of those things come into play. Now, on the other hand, it could be like a balancing act for him. Like, if to me, I do have my own business. It's not as, of course, certainly not as big as Hybe, but I do have my own business, and I actually like having both. I like having the creative work, and I like having to do the corporate side of things. I feel that it's a balance. When I'm getting too crazy with the creative work, then I can always become formal and rigid and just think about business. And then when I get tired of that, then I can shift to the creative work. So that could be, but then if you're managing something this big, it's a totally different animal. Okay, I hope you learned something from that. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave them in the comment section below. If you have any inputs, anything that I got wrong, you want to correct me, let me know. Just put them in the comment section below. You can also get in touch with me in any of the social media links that you see on your screen right now. Please follow me on Patreon, on X, and on Twitter, and of course on Instagram. I'm getting very, very close to actually sharing with you other projects that I'm doing. I hope that you like them. I hope that it'll excite you the same way it excites me. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.